Welcome to Live with, Zenith's new online conversation platform. This series will explore the processes and design inspiration behind some of Zenith's leading design partners, and will also feature some of the new product releases. And today's session is Live with Formway. Hi, I'm Jane Henderson, Acting Editor of InDesign, and it's my pleasure to be facilitating the talk today. Today's format is a panel discussion followed by your questions. So if you'd like to ask our panel or a particular person a question, please send a text on the Q&A field at the bottom of your screen and I'll ask it at the end of the talk. Today, I'm joined by three experts, members of the Formway team, and they are Kent Parker, Paul Wilkinson and Chris Bisman. But first, a little bit about Formway and our speakers. Formway is a research-led studio designing products for some of the world's most well-known and innovative furniture brands. For more than 50 years, Formway has focused on designing high-performance seating and has established a reputation for delivering world-class residential and commercial products. Formway's designs are informed by insights gained through observation and consideration of human behaviour, and it is this that underpins Formway's ability to create innovative solutions that fulfil genuine user needs. And to our people, Kent Parker is co-CEO and project director. Kent has been passionate about product design for more than 30 years. He joined the Formway team in 2000 following varied design experiences with such companies as Fisher & Paykel, design consulting practice Kalani Design, and the visual effects film company Weta. In 2013, he was recognised by the New Zealand Designers Institute, receiving the John Britton Black Pin that celebrates an individual who has achieved significant success in the field of design, both nationally and internationally. Paul Wilkinson is co-CEO and project director. Paul graduated in engineering from Canterbury University and, after a brief period at Fisher & Paykel, joined one of the UK's leading design companies, DCA Design Consultants. As a senior associate with the practice for the next 10 years, Paul led a diverse range of projects from developing robots for testing cars to medical syringe pumps. He returned to New Zealand in 1999 and established his own design company, and with a passion for furniture, began his long association with Formway. And finally, Chris Bisman, project director. Chris joined Formway in 2005 after graduating from Victoria University, where he received a degree in industrial design. He was introduced to Formway as a designer through the cognitive, societal and workplace research on the HUM team. Chris has always had a passion for design and architecture, and after the development of the Remix family, spent a year travelling to visit the architecture projects he had so admired. Returning to New Zealand, Chris has led the design of several residential and workplace seating projects, which will be on the market soon. So now that we know a little bit about our speakers, perhaps we can explore Formway in a bit more detail. To Kent, who is Formway and what do you do?
Thanks, Jan. That was a very nice introduction, and thanks all for joining us today. I guess one of the things we say in the studio is that we're not a furniture design studio, but in fact, we are a studio that's trying to create solutions to make everyday lives richer. That statement really means that we expect our products to be used in everyday life, both in workplaces and in home environments, and we expect these products to deliver performance to the user that enhances what they're up to, what they're doing, assists them in what they're doing, and they appreciate it for that. But also, we expect our designs will enhance the aesthetic of the environment in which they are sitting in. I guess if you look at it a little more pragmatically, we've got designers, engineers, and a few people more focused on research in the studio. But we're all really passionate about design. We're really passionate about delivering innovation in design, and our focus and our expertise really is in seating and delivering performance ergonomic seating to different environments and to different users.
You've also recently rebranded, Kent. Tell me, why has this come about?
Yeah, well, we're very proud of doing that because we neglected it for so long. But for a number of years, we've really flown under the radar a little bit. We're a design studio, and we have a B2B operation. So we're basically designing and collaborating with partners like Zenith to bring our products to market. So we've left our partners up to them to tell the story of the product, take those products to market. And of course, they do talk about us a little bit, but what we've sort of known for some time is that if we could tell the story, the background story to the products better, that will be of value both to our partners and of course, and really importantly to the end consumer. People are interested in that. What we've done is we've done a website, no big deal, but big deal to us because it's taken so long to do. But the website's really good. We did that with Sons & Co, who are web designers in Christchurch. Did a lovely job of helping us tell the story, a background story to Formway. And it talks a bit about our processes, the tools we use, the people that are involved. And then there's case studies for 3 projects. So our intention in the long run is to fill that out more with some of historical product and of course new product that are coming. So we really welcome people to go and have a look at that and love to hear what you think.
It's looking good. Paul, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about Formway's credentials.
Sure, thanks Jen, that was quite an introduction from you. Actually, I was not used to having that said out like that, yeah. That was great. Yeah, Formway's been around for a long time. We started way back in 1956 as a general engineering workshop, and it really took us up to the 80s where we really had established our brand, and we've been developing our design expertise and our manufacturing expertise to the point where we were the leading design for commercial furniture brand in New Zealand, and we were getting great success in Australia as well. But it wasn't really until the end of the 90s that we thought we really wanted to make a step change in both our business and our design direction, and we set ourselves the audacious goal of designing the world's best task chair. And really that became turned into the life chair that we all know and love. It was the first design project that we've done where we weren't focused on our own manufacturing capability or indeed on just the Australasian market. We were doing it for a product to be designed, taken to the global, distributed globally. Launched in 2002, Life won 11 international design awards with great recognition and has sold in excess of 1 million chairs worldwide.
Wow.
It was at this time that we really were continuing our investigation into how we're living and how we're working, and we developed what we've called our subconscious setting philosophy, which is about movement, comfort, support and intuition. And out of that really movement was the key element that we were focused on, and the fact that a lot of our furniture is really quite static, and the posturally what we wanted to do was say that the next posture was the best posture and we should keep moving, was the best way of supporting our bodies. So this led to the development of the B family, which is called the Generation by Knoll in the US. And it was introduced with the tagline, sit how you want. And B, when it was introduced at NeoCon in Chicago, won gold for task seating. And the family has gone on to have sales in excess of 2 million chairs worldwide. Being hugely successful for us, and we're very proud of it.
Certainly is.
We've continued our research as we've gone forward into how people live and work, and it became clear to us that our setting philosophy could be applied across a lot more markets. And in 2014, we introduced the world's first performance recliner, Revive, with Italian brand Natuzzi. And we've continued to expand into different market sectors, and we recently launched our Move chair with our recently established residential furniture company called Nohol. So Nohol Move promotes healthy freedom of movement. It really does better support the wide range of activities that we undertake in the home today. So this leads us nicely onto our most recent work chair introduction, which is Remix, that we're here to talk to you about today. We're really proud of the fact that Remix, when it was launched, also won the gold at NeoCon in Chicago for the best task chair. So
we're meeting Remix. Guys, the chair looks great and well done. Chris, you were heavily involved with the design of Remix, so tell me, how did it come about?
It's research, really. We want to ensure that we're not just designing more product. We want to make sure there's a genuine need for that product to exist. So do a lot of research. We talk to experts, video observation, voice to the customer work, and read a lot of white papers. And it's the design team doing that research, and what we're trying to understand is any influences that are going to change the workplace that we know, the built environment, the people within that space. But we also take a step back from just workplace research and do look at global trends that, again, we think may eventually have some impact on the workplace. So from there, it is really on the design team who know that research, have kind of lived and breathed it for quite a while, and starting to join the dots and find those tangible and intangible links that go on to prove that there is a need for another chair, but also those links really inform or are the unmet needs that define the brief and then define the product going forward.
Okay, Paul, just carrying on from there, you were integral to the development of Remix along with Chris. So why did Formway decide to develop Remix?
Remix was based off two opportunities or quite significant opportunities that we discovered during the research phase of the project. The first of these was we'd identified there was this undeveloped part of the market that was really ripe for innovation. There hadn't been a lot of product or development or performance brought to that part of the market. And the second one was that to support the changing needs of the workplace. The workplace is never static, and there were some important changes going on.
Certainly some changes at the moment, wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's right.
But which part of the market was ripe for innovation?
Yeah, so within the current market, we looked at the high performance task chairs that were out there, and for us, the majority of the chairs are focused on a more expressive or a progressive end of the market. Part of the market where the chairo is really the hero of the space, and it's a very valid part of the market. We've designed product for that area. But it's also a really populated part of the market. It's incredibly well catered for with a lot of good high performing chairs. So another part of the market we kind of knew about, but it came much more to the front through our research, was a part that has a different set of aesthetic values around tactility and texture and upholstery and richness. And it's still a really high performing office. The movements, the collaborations, the interactions, everything's still the same. But what we saw is that this part of the market largely hadn't been catered for with the performance product that the workforce would need. So, I mean, for us, if you look at effectively a snapshot of the total market, again, you can see the majority of the chairs are targeted towards that progressive end of the market. So, for us, the opportunity in the current market was about bringing performance to that upholstered sector of the market.
So, Chris, also, how do you see the workplace changing for you? We know it's changing out there, but...
Yeah, the workplace it's constantly evolving. It is a big beast, and it does take a long time to actually change its direction. But, we feel at the moment that we are at a point of quite substantial change, and I think significant change for people, place, and also aesthetically. So, the people within the workplace is really interesting. If you look at the actual demographics that made up the workplace in the 80s, you can see there's one demographic, that's the baby boomers highlighted in green, that really were the majority of the population of the workplace. And what you get when you've got a single majority is that it's their values, their ideas, their ideals that really define what the workplace is, the styles, the interior. But if you look forward to 2015, you can see there's a much more equal spread of, just a much more diverse group of demographics, Gen Y, Gen X, millennials, and then baby boomers a little bit. But I think for us, one of the big changes with people in the workplace is it's no longer dominated by a single set of values. It's this diverse, complex mix of people that make up the environment. The second part for us about the changing world is really around the built environment, and we've touched on briefly this idea of an expressive or progressive environment versus an upholstered, high-performing environment. But I mean, Jan, this work from home, this is an incredibly high-performing environment that's just so relevant at the moment. And so it was about I think with Remix, when we talked about the third place, we talked about co-working spaces much more than work from home. But the nice thing about the research is that, you know, the third place has just evolved into being home, so it's still very relevant. And for us, out of the research, the takeaway was that with this diverse mix of people, you know, now more than ever, and working from this incredibly diverse group of environments as well. The third part around that changing workplace was around aesthetic, and the nice thing was we actually got a little bit of clarity here, we believe, rather than diversity, so it keeps things a bit simpler, I suppose. But we do feel that the office has become much more residential, or has a much stronger residential sensitivity. There's a lot of terms for it at the moment, but what it's trying to achieve is put users, or put you know, employees in an environment where they feel comfortable and confident to perform their best. So bringing those cues in from the home around furniture, lighting, materiality, it just puts them in what, you know, is a really safe, nice environment for them to perform their best.
Yeah, so, identify.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so it's those three areas really for us around people. You know, people in place was all about diversity and us understanding that and accepting that and realising that for us it was about choice. And then the last part around the aesthetic becoming much more residential.
Okay, okay. Ken, can you tell us about the process, the actual design process?
Yeah, well, I think Chris is going to talk more detail about this with the development of Remix, but I guess the studio has been here for quite a long time, and we've spent years experimenting with different processes and continually, you know, refining that process, and it doesn't change. You know, we've got some clever young designers coming to the studio now that are bringing in different ideas and moving that around, but it is an evolving process, but fundamentally it stays the same. And so it's three phases in the process that are very overlapped. You know, people think that things can be quite sequential and very clean cut, but actually they're quite a mess when it comes to the design process. Fundamentally, we've got research. So that's the first stage. We dive pretty deep, and what we want to do is identify the need. So as Chris has talked about with Remix, the need, and getting that need, and then you can, you know, that really motivates the team and motivates the process to find solutions to those needs. The document that documents all that is the design brief, and we do use a design brief. Get to that position as part of the process of getting there is really important. The design process itself is very hands-on. We develop lots of concepts. We experiment with concepts. You know, we're interacting with these products, so it's very much about building in full scale and using those products and testing ideas. At the end of this, we end up with a product solution, often with new intellectual property in it, delivering a new performance, and we really won't go out with that until we're pretty excited about the opportunity we've created. And the last phase is productionisation, and it's not easy, that productionisation phase. That's about working to deliver the product in an efficient way to the market, making it environmentally strong, price competitive, very stable and robust. So that's often, that process is done with a partner like Zenith, and there's a lot of collaboration involved in that process. Mm-hmm. I guess our design process can be quite frustrating at times, but if we use the process and stick to the process, we tend to get a result at the end of it that we're pretty happy with.
No pain, no gain, huh, Kent?
Exactly, yeah. It's not all fun.
No. But Chris, can you explore, sorry?
Most of it is fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's what it's all about in the end, isn't it?
We enjoy it, yeah.
Chris, talking about the development of Remix, can you walk us through the various prototypes, the sort of challenges that you had to meet, and, you know, the eventual resolution of the product?
Yeah. So the design stage of the development processes for Remix was exactly as Kent laid out, and it really is that time where I suppose the heat comes on the design team a little bit to actually turn that research, those insights into genuine product solutions. It is the design stage. So for Remix, you know, same again, we build a lot, we build it one-to-one, and the intent of these build is just to get it into the office, get people sitting in it, trial it, learn and iterate and move on. You know, great example of this is these images you're seeing at the moment, where we're looking at the high performance arm, if it's attached to the back, what that mechanism is, and then obviously with the foam and the textile, how that mechanism comes through the arm itself. The back, things like the actual form of the back. Early on in Remix, we talked a lot about a more enveloping lower back. So if we did do that, how do we provide that enveloping feel, but not hinder movement, not hinder shoulder rotation, or you know, posture change that people need to do in the office. The high back for Remix obviously is a big part of the range. This was an interesting build. Someone had a hunch, someone had a bit of an idea that a winged high back would be a good idea, and we're talking a lot about the people's inability to do focus work in the open plan office. So we thought maybe this could minimize distractions for someone when they're doing focus work. But so we built it, put it in the studio, and really quickly learned that it actually did the opposite. And it was more around the person approaching the person sitting in the chair, that they no longer had the ability to kind of time their run, or to you know, just sort of be a bit compassionate towards that person. They couldn't see them, so they didn't know they're trying to focus, so they'd interrupt and they'd distract them anyway. So, I mean, that really informed a lot about the high back form of Remix, to keep it open and keep those sight lines open across the office. Obviously the height rule, or the elastomer flex net, the strapping on the back of the chair, was a massive part of the development, and really us exploring pattern and geometer and strap thickness, and just trying to get, you know, use as minimal, as little of the material as possible, but still offering a really high performing product, and understanding its relationship when it works with the foam and the upholstery that are layered on top of it. So within the process, as these functional builds are evolving, we also start the aesthetic work, and again, it's a really quick turnaround process of sketching and building, and ongoing and iterating. And all of these builds on screen they're just trying to inform the next build around things like materiality, form, scale, stance, overall silhouette of the chair. And as they do kind of get a little bit more mature in their development, they also start to inform the functional builds. So the functional builds gets an aesthetic package that, you know, that mechanism or that bit of structure needs to fit within. So they start to slowly come together through the process. So once we're at where we think we're at a good point, both functionally and aesthetically, we start really digging into the details. And again, Remix, the elastomer straps are a great example.
Can I just interrupt? Can you explain elastomer to me?
Yeah, so an elastomer is an engineering polymer, a rubber, a flexible polymer. So Hytril is a DuPont material, and interestingly, the process we use with the Hytril or the elastomer is we elongate it after we mould it. So the two samples you're actually seeing on screen at the moment are the same sample. One's just after elongation. The reason we elongate it is we get a much more flexible but durable material, and also it thins out during the elongation process, so the part gets thinner, which allows us to effectively use less material that has a better performance.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Yeah, so within that development of those small details, the next step would be for us to mould a bigger sample, start integrating things like connection to the structure for the back, and start understanding the horizontal and the vertical overlap and that connection as well. And so, as I mentioned, we elongate the Hytril or the elastomer. We elongate it to about 400% of its moulded length, and it returns to about half of that length. And we build these elongation rigs in-house, and it's really doing that to just to understand how long that final part is, which then goes on to inform the finished part size when we get to production. And we do sweat every detail. For Remix, we wanted a very clean, gridded look for the elastomer across the back. So we we really looked at that junction between the horizontals and the verticals. When you elongate them, if they're on the same plane, you get a radius in that corner. So because we wanted that strong grid, we started doing an exploration into how they could overlap or how they could be joined to just give us the clean look that we were after. As all this is going on, we test a lot. We test all the global standards, so BIFMA, ANSI, BSCN, and they're both the durability standards, but also the longevity standards, so cycle testing to ensure the product's in the market for a long time. On top of that, we develop our own abuse load tests, and these abuse loads are different for every product we design, but they're specific tests that the design dictates that aren't picked up by the big global standards. So for Remix, this is a classic one, the idea that someone might grab the chair and pull it around the office by a single strap by itself rather than the shoulders of the chair. So this test is just simulating that and again making sure that the part's strong enough to give us longevity in the market. So all of that work is really building, as Kent mentioned, this final build at the end of the design development process. It works like build, which is a single build that is the first time all of the aesthetic concepts and the functional concepts come together into a single chair. And it's an exciting time for the design team because of that, also because it marks the end of, hopefully the end of that concept design stage. And this is the chair we built for the Remix works like, looks like build. And so, yeah, this chair becomes the go-to going forward as well. So any off-tool or production parts, we use this chair as the benchmark for comfort and aesthetic to come back to. And so all of this work really, I think the development process, these images make it look quite quick, but it is countless hours, countless builds and countless exploration for us to, just ensure that the work or the product we're putting forward does fulfill the genuine needs that we believe are in the market.
It's really interesting. But Paul, I can see that you're sitting in a Remix chair.
Yeah.
Could you perhaps walk us through some of the features, some of the benefits?
Sure. I mean, the intent of Remix is, again, or what's driven it is off the back of our subconscious seating philosophy, that movement, comfort, support, and intuition. We still believe that's as valid today as it was when we created it. And what that's meant for this particular chair, it's translated again into multi-posture capability. So that might be, when we talk about multi-posture, a lot of it's about side sitting. So when you talk, it's got the soft touch on the top so that you can have that impromptu conversation or meeting. You can chat to your neighbour, or whether it's about, reclining in the chair. So that's taking a moment, opening up your spine, gathering your thoughts, or whether it's forward active, which is a key part of work when you've got that really intensive period of work that you've really got to get the stuff done. And forward active is a really, really common posture. And to create health and well-being as well, the challenge with all of that is that we've got to fit everyone. So that's from a 5th percentile female to a 95th percentile male. There's a huge range of sizes to fit everyone. And to do that, we, as Chris said before, we meet all the world standards for adjustability and durability. What that means is, we ensure that when the product gets to the end after it's been through our development process, it really does create a great product that fits everyone and lasts a long time.
Okay. Chris, what about the performance of Remix?
Yeah, actually sitting, of course, I'm sitting in B, so that's not a good start. Yeah, I'll talk about the back first. The back of any task here really is the hero. It's the first part you see, it's the first part you interact with, the first part you touch. So for Remix, we wanted a very clean, simple visual entry into the part, so geometric form.
Yep.
But we also wanted it to allude to, upholstery and comfort and foam. So as Paul mentioned, wrapping the upholstery around the corner just gives you that kind of insight to the softness of the chair. And then on top of that, having the FlexNet exposed alludes to not only is it going to be comfortable through the foam and upholstery, but also have that performance element as well.
Okay.
The back itself, I mentioned during the design process, is a little bit around the enveloping form. A couple of things with that. It's really about giving the person sitting in the chair a kind of an enveloping, kind of like a little bit of a hug, and I've been given a hard time for doing this one all day. But
we'll need hugs.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's amazing how just that soft wrapping form does actually put someone in quite a comfortable space, and also doesn't let them feel exposed when someone's approaching them from the back. Also, that form of the back is like pull with the side sitting and the next posture. It does give a continuous lumbar support in combination with the arm that's mounted off the back. So the real crux of the back is this layering of the upholstery and the foam and the elastomer. And what it's doing, it needs to provide very good upright support for those more conventional postures, so upright, reclined, forward active, but it also needs to allow us to take those other postures that we do in the office, like when we side sit or we have a leg up on the chair, or any of those other ones, and that's where the elastomer really comes into its own. When you put a kind of higher stress through it, it has very good local movement or local flex within the polymer itself. So if I'm putting higher pressure through my elbow and my shoulder, the material gives and just doesn't allow any high pressure to build up on those areas. The seat, so I've actually prepared this morning. I've cut up a seat, but the seat itself, similar to the back, we wanted a visually quite a approachable, simple form, and we wanted to express that there is a large volume of foam and it is a comfortable object. But then where the performance really comes in is the difference between hopefully you can see that, difference between the top shape, the surface you sit on, and the bottom shape. So there's a deep ischial pocket, so when you're sitting in those kind of upright postures, your bum bones, if you don't know what ischial or ischials are, it's really well supported, but then when you start taking those other postures again, around the side of the seat is a large body of foam which collapses away when you load them up with more pressure, and it's that collapsing of the foam in combination with the waterfall edge of the structure that just doesn't allow the pressure points to build up when you take those other postures. The mechanism is beautifully demonstrated by Paul, is a synchronized mechanism, and we wanted a mechanism and a motion really that sat really well with the foam and the upholstery, this kind of comfortable object that we'd created. So the fluid motion of the sinking mechanism sat really well with that and aligned.
It's quite seductive.
Yeah, it is. It's a really seductive sit. Yeah, so they're really the big elements of the performance. We'll talk a little bit more about the overall range, but yeah, they're the main performance elements.
Okay, so we have the performance, but Paul, can you tell us about the materials and the sustainability credentials, because that's all important.
I mean, you did right. It's very important to us, but we know it's very important to everybody, facility managers and users alike, I guess. And it's been very key to our development process for the last 20 years. When we did life stood for light, intuitive, flexible, and environmental. And at the time life was launched way back in 2002, it won awards for its environmental positioning. So it has been an important thing for us here at Formway, and every product since we've really been striving to do better and better at understanding those issues and doing better with our products. So we are very focused on not just the product, but a holistic view of sustainability. So what that means is, we look at the carbon footprint of the product, but we also look at efficiency of shipping. We look at end of life particularly. But importantly, what we want to do is we select the materials carefully to create a very long life for the product. There's no good using recycled or environmentally sensitive materials if the product doesn't last for a long time. So as Kent referred to as well, we want people to love our products, and we want them to love them, want to keep them, refurbish them, and pass them on to other people to use as well. So what this means, I guess, specifically for Remix, is that we can offer, because of our durability testing, We can offer a 10-year multi-shift warranty for the product. It has up to 39% recycled content, so that's everything from rapidly renewable materials, if you say it right, which is, you know, part of the FlexNet matrix, for example, uses that, through to recycled steel, which is, you know, a lot of the mechanism is metal, and that has a lot of recycled content to it. And we also use recycled plastics wherever we can through the structural elements of the chair. So as well as the recycled content at the creation of the product, we also are concerned, as I said, about end of life. So at the end of life, 57% by weight of the product can be recycled, which is important, very important to us. As part of green building programs and lead points, it can contribute up to 5 lead points in commercial interiors. It's also Green Guard Gold certified, and we're currently in the process of getting GECA accreditation on top of that.
Fantastic. That's amazing. I guess finally, before we go to questions, Chris, can you tell us about the range and the options that are available for Remix?
Yeah, 2 back heights. I'm in the high back. Paul is in the mid back. We see the mid back is, you know, is an absolute must. Gives good back support, whereas the high back obviously gives good back support. But we also saw this, you know, style of product going into more manager or executive offices, so that's why that offering is there. 3 arm options, which we do have all here. I've got the high performance arm. Paul's got the height only arm. Those 2 aesthetically are in family, and then there's the loop arm on the chair behind us, which just takes it away from, you know, being a true task chair and sort of softens that aesthetic again. The loop arm's available in aluminium and plastic with a integrated soft top to the plastic loop arm. There is a optional lumbar support, which you may not be able to see here. And then the base is available in 2 material finishes, so plastic and aluminium. And really importantly for Remix is the upholstery options. It's available, there are standard offerings, but also available in customer's own material and customer's own leather. And throughout the whole development process, we were adamant the chair needed to take any textile, any upholstery, and so, you know, and still maintain the performance that we know is necessary for the product.
It's really important to have that residential feel, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's just so, it's such the way our workplaces are going, and also working from home.
And it gives specifiers or you know, anyone in that interior the opportunity to really match it to that space that they're working in, plus keep the performance as well.
Right. Well, I think that's pretty comprehensive, but I've got some questions here, and maybe you can help out. For instance, Stephen Louis has said, I tell my students that your best teacher is your last mistake. Were mistakes in your process that taught or revealed something you weren't considering? So maybe, Paul, maybe you'd like to, just to come clean. You can share with us. We won't tell anybody.
We make mistakes all the time. There are so many I can't even begin to start with that. But I think Ken described it well when he was talking of, and Chris, in this process, was that we have workshops where we invite the whole studio in. We go, let's go crazy, and we have a phrase: all ideas are good ideas. You get them up there, we rank them, we go out in the workshop, we try them, and you very, very quickly learn which ones don't work. Then even then, you know, as Chris pointed out with our wingback chair, we brought it into the, you know, we still believed in it once we built it. We brought it into the studio, and you really have to use a lot of our things in anger to actually understand them. You know, you can have a lot of passion for, you know, there was a lot of talk about, you know, standing a lot during the day, and, you know, we know there are a lot of implications health-wise if you stand too long, which can be worse than sitting too long. Yeah. So we knew important to it, but it's an important part of changing posture, and you should stand, you should move around, you should go to the kitchen and have a glass of water. And we thought, so we built all these prototypes around, you know, a chair that could adapt to be something you could lean against and those kind of products. But what we found was the products just get in the way. you know, and we've tried lots of things, and a lot of those failed during our testing quite early on.
Not to say that one day we won't make it work.
Tim's still hopeful. There's an idea there. That
Yeah,
we're
I think that's a
gonna
big
get to
part of
come
it
to.
too, is people have a passion for an idea and they pursue that idea, and you know, in the end, sometimes they don't work out, and you've got to let them go. But
maybe they lead on to other things, Ken. You know, I mean, that's the whole idea of you know, having a challenge and failing and learning something from it. So, and you, whatever the challenge is, Remix has certainly come up trumps. There's another question I've got from Matthew Vescovo, and maybe Chris, that's good for you. What material is the loop arm?
It's aluminium, the loop arm behind us.
Yeah.
There's also the plastic one is a nylon, and then the pad on top is a integrated foam pad similar to the high performance arm.
All right, okay. Another question from Mark Bright, and Kent, I think this is good for you. How is Remix different to your other task chairs?
yeah, well, I think one of the big things is the difference between the performance aesthetic of some of our other chairs and this one's ability to take the same performance, so making sure that that performance isn't degraded, but taking it into a much more residential aesthetic, and I think that's really the big differentiator.
Right, because there's another question, you know, the single defining feature of Remix, you know, what makes it different? So you're saying it's the textural, the upholstery, the residential feel. Is that correct? Yeah.
Good. Yes.
Right. What was the most difficult thing to design when creating a new task chair? What was it for Remix? So Chris, could you perhaps answer this question from Brett O'Callaghan?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think they're all difficult, to be honest. There's no component I think about, and it's been interesting going back, you know, once we knew we had this live with session and reflecting on the Remix process, and it's, you know, I don't think any of them were easy. Obviously the back for all our chairs does take a lot of design. It does have to perform a lot. You know, it moves a lot, it sees a lot of load, it sees a lot of kind of dynamic movement. So that's always a interesting one to develop, or harder one to develop.
And we've been designing flexible chairs for a long time now, and really the standards and the testing put these kind of concepts under, make them really quite challenging. You know, you know, so you can imagine we cantilever the arms so that you can get your leg under them, because we believe in side sitting. What that means is we've got a structure, we've somehow got a support to allow you to do that, and the testing requirements of Biffman and Fardy that we've passed are huge loads that have to go through these elements, but we want them to bend and flex. So that
contradiction.
Yeah, it's a contradiction. So in normal use, you put a very light load on, you know, like we're talking about here, and we want, and you know, the compliance in the back that we want, because when you put your back on, they're very light loads, but then when you come to the test time, the loads are huge, and these backs get almost bent in half through the test process. So
how much weight would you test a chair like that?
Well, the back, a lot of these tests are around 136 kilogram loads get put through, you know, and in a back, when you're actually sitting in the chair, you're more likely to be putting 10 or 15 kilograms on the back.
I mean, a big person puts like 15 kilos.
It's, yeah, a big person, you know, and then we have to put 136. So as you can imagine,
yeah,
chair behaves under that load in quite an extreme way.
Yeah. I've got another question here from Julie Norton. Chris, what was the time frame for design development? That's how much of the time went into research?
It was a 4-year project, and pretty much split third equal across research, the development stage, and then the productionisation stage. So just under 18 months, I think.
Right.
Okay. Right.
And it carries on.
Yeah.
It kind of overlaps. It's never, you know, it's never clean. It always overlaps, and you get into the design before the research is finished, and and the research carries on while you're well into the design. So it's
and finally, Tom Blake has sent in a question. The product aesthetic seems to have a real mid-century look to it. Was that intentional, Kent or Paul or Chris?
These guys,
not directly intentional. I think a lot of our inspiration probably early on had, you know, definitely some kind of mid-century feel to it, thinking about the materiality that was coming through with the mid-century work, obviously is, you know, would be inspiring for this. But really for us, aesthetically, it was about just creating a simple, clean silhouette for a high-performance task chair. So it didn't have any direct ties to mid-century.
Okay, well, it just seems to be blending very nicely into a really contemporary aesthetic, isn't it? So thank you. I think that we can move on. Some few more questions, but we are losing our time here. Kent, I want you to tell me about what's happening next for Formway.
Yeah, well, I guess it's pretty clear. We're chair geeks. We're pretty passionate about what we do with seating. Now we've got a team here of pretty talented designers and engineers, and they continue on this mission to find new opportunities, to understand how the world's changing and deliver world-leading performance seating into different environments for both people and planet. So I guess when we're talking about people, we're talking about what's happening in the world around us, and a classic is an incredible event we're going through at the moment around the world, where a lot of people are ending up working from home a lot more, you know, to more subtle things that are happening in our lives, and how do we better understand what's happening in people's lives, and how can we deliver better seating solutions for that. And with delivering seating solutions for the planet, we're talking about understanding materials better and you know, holistically understanding how we use materials more efficiently, more effectively to deliver new performance, but also understanding the impact that might be having on the planet around us. So we've just continually working on that process. We've got several new projects underway. We've got 2 in development. One is in productionisation. You know, and those projects are they take about 4 years start to finish. So we're well into those, and over the next couple of years, we're really excited to bring those products through to the market. Yeah.
You can tell us a little bit more if you want, you know, just between us.
Yeah, I think people have probably heard enough about seats today, but yeah, maybe next time.
Love to tell you.
Fantastic. As almost my last question, Paul, perhaps you'd like to encapsulate in a few words, you know, the benefit of Remix.
Sure, I'd love to. So I think we've said it several times, but really the key benefits are that residential feel, you know, and we're hoping, our goal was to enhance that residential feel that today's workplace has become. And I think we've said, you know, performance is key to all of our products, so it delivers the performance you need, no matter who you are and what you do. Mm-hmm. But the key takeaway, I think, and Kent referred to before, is really as it provides the upholstered comfort that you love, that we all love, that seductive feel.
Can I also ask you, Paul, what was the best thing about being involved with, you know, the invention of Remix?
I love I'm a big chair geek, as Kent just put it. I love seating, and I think creating any new product is really exciting for us here. You know, through all the stages, I like the first stage where you come up with the ideas and all the ones that fail right through to the productionization stage. I find that fascinating as well, but there's no one part. I think getting the FlexNet matrix to work effectively with the foam and in combination. When we started that out, we had a lot of failures and things that just weren't working. So I'm quite proud of how we got that to work.
Fantastic. And Chris, can you add anything to that?
Oh, it's always been a roller coaster, the development process. But
we're still friends at the end of it. So
that's good.
That's good. I think just being involved in that total process, it's really nice that, you know, it is the design team that does that research, that does the design work and has that complete understanding of the total process. And for me personally, as a designer, it gives me a much, I suppose, broader understanding of the process, but also, you know, even in productionization, if there's an issue, anyone in the team can comment on it, you know, and everyone on the team complete understanding of the total product, which I think is a really good way to deliver product, so everyone has that total knowledge.
Right. And last word, Kent, what do you like about the remix most of all?
For me, it's a differentiator to our range, and it offers another solution. And I love the fact that we're going to be seeing architects and designers specifying textiles on these that are going to offer quite an exciting new solution in the workplace, not only for the performance of the product but with the aesthetic of the product.
I can't wait to see it. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. Well, thanks to all of you. Thanks to Paul and Chris and Kent. It's been really informative. And to our listeners, for more information, or if you want to view the product, contact your nearest showroom, your Zenith showroom, and you can view the product on the Zenith website as well as the Formway website. And thank you to Formway and to our listeners and for joining us today. Everyone keep well, and thank you. Goodbye.